The cold metal floor pressed against Daejung's cheek. His head throbbed with pain. His hands were bound behind his back with something that felt like rough wire. He opened his eyes slowly, carefully. The light above him was too bright and had a strange purple color to it. He was in a cell. The walls were smooth and dark, made of some material he did not recognize. There were no windows, only a transparent barrier where a door should be. Beyond it, he could see a corridor with more cells on the other side. Daejung sat up slowly. Every muscle in his body ached. He remembered the battle. He remembered his unit retreating from New Jeju as the alien ships filled the sky. He remembered telling his squad to run while he held the line. Then an explosion. Then darkness. Now he was here. A prisoner. He looked down at himself. His uniform was gone. Instead, he wore a thin gray suit that felt like paper. His boots were gone too. His feet were bare on the cold floor. He touched his face with his bound hands and felt dried blood on his temple. A sound came from the corridor. Footsteps. But they were wrong. Too heavy. Too many joints clicking with each step. Daejung looked up and saw his first clear view of a Valthrine. The creature was tall, maybe 7 feet. Its body was covered in rough gray skin that looked like stone. It had 4 arms, 2 on each side. Its head was wide and flat with 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern. The mouth was a vertical slit. It wore armor that was dark blue and seemed to glow slightly. The Valthrine walked past his cell without looking at him. It carried a weapon that hummed with energy. Daejung watched it go, counting its steps, noting the rhythm of its walk. Information was survival. Hours passed. Or maybe days. There was no way to tell time in the cell. The light never changed. Daejung exercised carefully, testing his bonds. The wire around his wrists was strong but not impossible. He would need time and the right moment. Other prisoners began to arrive. Daejung heard them before he saw them, crying, shouting, begging, all human voices, all frightened. The Valthrine guards dragged them past his cell, throwing them into empty cells nearby. A young man was pushed into the cell across from Daejung. He fell hard on the floor and did not get up for a long time. When he finally sat up, his face was wet with tears. He looked around in panic until his eyes met Daejung's. "Where are we?" the young man asked. His voice shook. "What do they want with us?" Daejung said nothing. He simply looked at the young man, then looked away. It was better not to talk. Better not to draw attention, but the young man kept talking. "My name is Hyunwoo. I was an engineer at the water plant. I was just trying to get home when they grabbed me. I have a sister. She was waiting for me. Do you think she got away?" Daejung closed his eyes. He did not want to know names. Names made things harder. "Please," Hyunwoo said, "just tell me your name. I just need to know I am not alone." After a long silence, Daejung opened his eyes. "Daejung," he said quietly. "Nothing more." Hyunwoo nodded and seemed to calm down a little. Okay, thank you." More prisoners came. Within 2 days, the entire cell block was full. Men and women. Young and old. Soldiers and civilians. All human. All defeated. The Valthrine guards moved among them like farmers tending livestock. They threw food pellets into the cells twice a day. The pellets tasted like dirt but kept them alive. Daejung watched everything. He counted guards. He noted when they changed shifts. He memorized the faces of the ones who were cruel and the ones who were merely indifferent. He studied the layout of the cell block from what he could see through his barrier. One guard was different from the others. It was smaller with lighter gray skin. It wore less armor. This one stopped sometimes and watched the prisoners with what might have been curiosity. Its 4 eyes would focus on one prisoner, then another, as if it was trying to understand them. A woman arrived on the 3rd day. She was older, maybe 50. The guards pushed her into a cell near Daejung. She had kind eyes despite the fear in them. When the guards left, she spoke. "Is anyone hurt?" "I am a doctor. My name is Bora," several prisoners called out. One man had a broken arm. Another woman had a deep cut on her leg. Bora pressed against her barrier and tried to give advice, telling them how to care for their wounds with nothing but words. Daejung listened, but said nothing. Bora eventually looked at him. "You are very quiet," she said. "Are you injured?" "I am fine," Daejung replied. "You have blood on your head. It is old." "I am fine." Bora studied him for a moment longer, then nodded and turned her attention to other prisoners. Days blended together. The routine never changed. Food pellets in the morning and evening, guards walking past, the purple lights that never dimmed. Some prisoners cried, some talked endlessly. Some sat in silence like Daijung. Hyunwoo tried to stay positive. He told stories about his sister, about his work, about his plans before the invasion. When we get out of here, he would say. Always when, never if. Daejung let him talk. It kept the young man sane. On the 7th day, the guards came for someone. They opened a cell at the far end of the block and dragged out a middle-aged man. He screamed and fought, but the Valthrine were too strong. They pulled him down the corridor until his screams faded away. He never came back. After that, the cell block became quieter. Fear settled over everyone like a heavy blanket. Even Hyunwoo stopped telling his stories. Daejung felt the change. He saw it in the slumped shoulders of the prisoners, in the empty stares, in the way they barely touched their food pellets. The Valthrine were breaking them, not with torture or pain, but with hopelessness. He understood the strategy. Broken prisoners were easier to manage. They did not fight. They did not resist. They simply existed until they were no longer useful. But Daejung was not broken. He could not afford to be. He continued his observations. He noted that the smaller guard, the curious one, took the late shift 3 times a week. He noted that the energy barriers on the cells flickered slightly when the guards used their weapons nearby. He noted which prisoners still had fight in their eyes and which had given up. Bora noticed him watching. One evening, she spoke quietly. "You are different from the others." Daejung looked at her but said nothing. "You are a soldier," she continued. "I can tell. The way you sit, the way you watch, you are always alert." "I was a soldier," Daejung corrected. "Now I am a prisoner." "Were you at the battle? At New Jeju?" He nodded once. Bora's expression softened. "Then you fought for us." "Thank you." Daejung turned away. Thanks were meaningless here. They did not open doors or break bonds. They did not save lives. But deep inside, where he kept the part of himself that still remembered who he had been, he made a silent promise. If there was a way out, he would find it. Not just for himself. For all of them. He just needed time. And an opportunity. The small guard walked past his cell again that night. For just a moment, its 4 eyes focused on Daejung. Then it moved on, its heavy footsteps echoing down the corridor. Daejung closed his eyes and waited. Patience was a weapon too, sometimes the most important one. The guard known as Kick stood at his post and tried not to think about the screaming. It came from the interrogation level below. It always did. The sound carried through the metal floors, a reminder of what happened to prisoners who had information the Dominion wanted. Kix was young for a Valthrine, barely into his 3rd decade. This was his first posting after basic training. He had thought it would be simple. Guard duty. Watch the defeated humans. Make sure they stayed in their cells. Easy work, but nothing about this was easy. The humans disturbed him. They were so small and fragile, yet they had fought harder than any species the Dominion had conquered before. It took 3 years to break their colony worlds. 3 years. Most species surrendered within months, and even now, defeated and caged, something in their eyes made Kix uncomfortable. It was not the fear. Fear he understood. It was something else. Something that refused to die even in these dark cells. Commander Velthar did not care about such things. The commander was old and proud. He walked through the cell block sometimes, looking at the prisoners like they were insects. Humans are weak, he told the guards. Their bodies break easily. Their spirits break easier. They are no threat now. But Kix was not so sure. He watched the prisoners during his shifts. Most sat in silence or cried. Some talked to each other across the barriers, sharing stories or memories. One young human, the one called Hyunwoo, tried to keep hope alive with his words. The older female, Bora, tried to heal others with advice since she had no medicine. Then there was the quiet one in cell 17. Kix had noticed him from the first day. While other prisoners moved with fear or desperation, this one moved with control. Every gesture was measured. Every glance had purpose. He spoke rarely. He watched constantly. The human was not large. Average height for his species. Lean build, dark hair cut short. But there was something about the way he held himself, like a blade waiting in its sheath. Kix found himself watching Cell 17 more than the others. He told himself it was proper vigilance. But really, It was curiosity mixed with unease. On the 14th day of the humans' captivity, something happened that changed everything. The facility was processing new prisoners. Standard procedure required decontamination before cell assignment. The prisoners were stripped, cleaned with chemical mist, and given their gray suits. Kix was assigned to the decontamination chamber that day. The quiet one from Cell 17 was brought in with 5 others for routine parasite screening. The guards removed his suit and pushed him under the chemical sprayers. Kix watched from his station by the control panel. That was when he saw the scars. The human's body was marked with old wounds. A long scar across the ribs, another on the left shoulder, burn marks on the forearm. These were not the marks of a simple soldier. These were the marks of someone who had survived things that should have killed him. Then Kix saw the tattoo. It was small, just below the right collarbone, partially faded. A simple design of a curved blade with 7 small stars above it. To most, it would mean nothing. But Kix had seen that symbol before. His blood went cold. After the decontamination, Kix finished his shift in a daze. His mind raced. It could not be. The chances were impossible. But he had to know. When his shift ended, Kix did something dangerous. He accessed the restricted military database. As a low-level guard, he should not have clearance for most files. But he knew a backdoor, a glitch in the system that a friend had shown him. It was forbidden to use it, but he had to confirm what he suspected. He searched for the symbol. The blade with 7 stars. The files that appeared made his hands shake. Operation Ghostwind. The assassination of Admiral Horthvan aboard his own flagship. The perpetrator was never caught, but witnesses reported seeing a human with a Reaper tattoo. The Crimson Point incident. An entire fuel depot destroyed, setting back the Dominion fleet by 6 months. Security footage showed a lone human operative. No clear image, but one guard survived long enough to report a tattoo. A blade with stars. Black Site 7. 3,000 prisoners freed in a single night. 40 Valthrine guards killed. The facility commander found dead in his office with a message carved in the desk. I am coming for all of them. Guard reports mentioned a human ghost with marked skin. There were more. 7 major operations across 7 systems. Each one impossible. Each one executed by what seemed to be a single human operative. The Dominion called him the Reaper, a legend that soldiers whispered about when commanders were not listening. No clear photographs existed. No confirmed identity. Only descriptions. Average height, dark hair, and a tattoo of a Reaper's blade with 7 stars. 1 for each system where he had struck. The reports noted that he was presumed dead after the fall of New Jeju. He disappeared during the evacuation. Most believed he went down fighting. But Kix had just seen that tattoo with his own 4 eyes. In Cell 17, on the quiet prisoner who watched everything and said nothing, Kix closed the files quickly, his heart's pounding. He looked around the guard station, paranoid that someone had seen what he accessed. But he was alone. The night shift was always quiet. He tried to think rationally. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe many humans had that tattoo. Maybe the Reaper really was dead and this was just another soldier with similar markings. But Kix could not make himself believe that. The way the human moved, the control, the constant observation, the scars that told stories of impossible survival, it all fit. The Dominion had captured the Reaper and did not even know it. Kix felt terror and fascination in equal measure. The human in Cell 17 had killed hundreds of Valthrine warriors. He had made the Dominion's military leaders afraid to sleep at night. He was responsible for more damage than entire human battle fleets. And he was sitting in a cell, bound and silent, pretending to be nobody. Why? Why would he not fight? Why would he not try to escape? Kix thought about this through his entire next shift. He watched Cell 17 with new eyes. Now he saw what others missed. The way the human tested his bonds when he thought no one was watching. The way he counted guard rotations. The way his eyes mapped every corner of the cell block. He was not broken. He was planning. The realization terrified Kix. If the Reaper decided to act, people would die. Many people. And Kix was just a low-level guard. He would be among the first to fall. He should report this immediately. Tell Commander Velthar. Let the higher ranks deal with it. Transfer the human to a maximum security facility. Put him in stasis. Do something. But if Kix reported this, he would become visible. He would be questioned about how he found this information. They would discover he accessed restricted files. He could be punished, demoted, maybe worse. And there was another problem. If the Dominion knew they had the Reaper, they would want to make an example of him. Public execution, torture. They would break him slowly to show the humans that their legends could bleed. Kix found himself disturbed by this thought. He had been raised to see humans as the enemy. But watching them day after day in these cells had changed something in him. They were not monsters. They were just people. Frightened people who had lost everything. The human in Cell 17 had killed many Volthrine. But he had also saved thousands of humans. He had fought against impossible odds. He had become a symbol of hope for his entire species. Kix made a decision that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. He would stay silent. He would not report what he knew. He would simply do his duty and hope the Reaper stayed quiet. But hope died 3 days later. Commander Velthar made an announcement. The Dominion wanted information about remaining human military installations. They would begin enhanced interrogations immediately. They would start with the engineers, the ones who built the colony defenses. They would start with Hyunwoo. Kix watched from his post as the young human was selected. Hyunwoo begged. He screamed that he did not know anything, that he just worked at a water plant. But the guards dragged him toward the interrogation levels anyway, and Kix saw the quiet human in Cell 17 move for the first time with urgency. He pressed against his barrier, his controlled mask slipping for just a moment. Kix saw something in his eyes then. Not rage exactly, something colder, something more dangerous. The human called Bora saw it too. She pressed against her own barrier and spoke urgently. Daejung, no, please, we need you alive. Do not do anything, please. So his name was Daejung. Kix filed that information away. The human called Daejung stood at his barrier for a long time after they took Hyunwoo. He did not move. He did not speak. But Kix could see the change in him. The patience was ending. The blade was coming out of its sheath. Kix realized something terrible. If they hurt Hyunwoo badly enough, if they killed him, the Reaper would not stay quiet any longer. He would act. And this facility would become a slaughterhouse. Kix faced an impossible choice. Stay silent and watch the storm come, or do something that would brand him a traitor forever. He thought about the screaming from the interrogation levels. He thought about Hyunwoo's fear. He thought about the cold look in Daejung's eyes, and he made his choice. The power fluctuation happened at midnight. The purple lights flickered twice, dimmed, then returned to normal. It happened sometimes in the old facility. Bad wiring, the senior guard said. Nothing to worry about, but Kix had caused it himself. He knew which cable to cut, which circuit would fail safely without triggering alarms. He had exactly 7 minutes before the maintenance system would auto-repair and log the incident. 7 minutes to do something insane. His hands shook as he walked down the corridor. The other guards were checking the upper levels. Standard protocol for power issues. Kix was supposed to check the cell blocks. No one would question why he was here alone. He stopped at Cell 17. Through the transparent barrier, he saw Daejung sitting against the back wall. The human's eyes were open. Always open. Always watching. Those eyes fixed on Kix now, dark and steady. The human did not move. Did not speak. Just waited to see what would happen. Kix looked around once more. The corridor was empty. Security cameras were offline during the power fluctuation. This was his only chance. He moved close to the barrier. His voice came out as a whisper, rough with fear. You are him, the Reaper. For a long moment, nothing happened. The human remained perfectly still. Then slowly, something changed in his eyes. The dullness that had been there for weeks vanished. What replaced it made Kix want to run. Daejung stood up. He moved like liquid, smooth and controlled. He walked to the barrier until only the thin energy field separated them. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence like a blade. Who told you? No one told me. I saw your tattoo. The scars. I looked in the database. Kix's words tumbled out fast. I know what you have done. The Admiral. The fuel depot. Black Site 7, all of it. Then why are you here? Why not tell your commander? Daejung tilted his head slightly, studying Kix like a hunter might study prey. Because if I tell them, they will kill you slowly. They will make it public. They will break you to break your people's spirits. Kix's four hands clenched. And because I think if you die, Hyunwoo dies too. They are hurting him right now in the interrogation rooms. He knows nothing, but they will not believe him. When they are done, they will kill him. Something flickered across Daejung's face. Just for a second. Then the cold mask returned. Why do you care what happens to him? Daejung asked. He is your enemy. I do not know, Kix admitted. I should not care, but I do. I watch you all every day. You are not what they told us humans were. You are not weak or cruel or mindless. You are just people. And that young human did nothing wrong. He just wants to go home to his sister. Daejung stared at him for a long time. Kix felt examined, as if the human could see through his armor into his very soul. You realize what you are doing? Daejung said quietly. Coming here. Talking to me. You are choosing a side. I know. If I escape, they will know someone helped me. They will investigate. They will find you. I know. Then you are either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Kix said. And despite everything, he felt a strange calm settle over him. The choice was made. There was no going back. Daejung nodded slowly. What do you want from me? I can create an opening. A way for you to escape. But I want your promise. Take your friends and go, just them. Hyunwoo, Bora, maybe a few others. Take who you can carry and leave. Do not try to free everyone. Do not try to fight the whole facility. Just run. Daejung's expression hardened. No, no. Kix felt panic rising. What do you mean, no? This is your only chance. I do not leave soldiers behind. Any of them. Daejung's voice carried absolute certainty. Every human in this facility comes with me or I do not go at all. Kix wanted to scream. He wanted to shake this impossible human and make him see reason. There are over 300 prisoners here. You cannot save them all. You are one person. I have been one person before. Daejung moved closer to the barrier. The energy field hummed between them. Black Site 7 had more prisoners than this. We're security too. I got them all out. And how many of you were there? How many other operatives helped you? Just me. The simple answer stunned Kix into silence. The reports had never been clear about that detail. Everyone assumed the Reaper worked with a team, that the legend of one man was propaganda. But looking into Daejung's eyes, Kix believed him. This human had done all those impossible things alone. You are insane, Kix whispered. Probably, Daejung agreed. But I am also very good at this. Help me or do not, but I will not leave anyone behind. Kix felt his resolve crumbling and reforming into something new. If I help you, what do you need? Time, information, a small opening. Daejung spoke quickly now, his tactical mind clearly racing. When do they rotate guards next? Tomorrow at dawn. 6 hours from now. Security protocols for the cell barriers? Controlled from the main guard station. But each guard carries an override key for emergencies. Weapons stored where? Armory level 3. But it is locked with both code and biometric scan. Your biometric will open it? Kix hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Good. What about Hyunwoo? Where is he? Interrogation level, basement. There are 4 rooms down there. I do not know which one. Daejung absorbed all this information like a computer processing data. His eyes went distant for a moment, and Kix could almost see him building plans, running scenarios, calculating odds. Can you get to the communication array? Daejung asked. Disable it before alarms go out? Maybe, if I am not caught first. That is all I need. One chance. Daejung looked directly into Kix's eyes. But understand this. When I move, people will die. Your people. I will try to avoid killing when I can, but I will not let them stop me. Can you accept that? Kix thought about his fellow guards. Some were cruel. Some were just following orders. Some like him had doubts but kept silent. If he helped Daejung, he would be responsible for their deaths. But if he did nothing, Hyunwoo would die. All these prisoners would die eventually, and the war would continue. Yes, Kix said. I can accept it. Daejung nodded once, a gesture of respect. Then here's what we do. For the next 6 minutes, they planned. Daejung asked questions. Kix provided answers. The human's mind worked at incredible speed. Adapting to each piece of information, adjusting his approach. It was like watching a master craftsman at work. When the lights brightened and the power fully restored, they were done talking. Tomorrow, Daejung said. Dawn rotation. You create the opening. I will do the rest. What if it goes wrong? Kix asked. Then we die. But we die fighting instead of rotting in cages. Kix found strange comfort in those words. He gave a small gesture of acknowledgement, something like a human nod. Then he turned to leave. Kix. The guard stopped and looked back. It was the first time Daijung had used his name. Thank you, the human said quietly. What you are doing takes courage. More courage than most humans I have known. Kix felt something warm in his chest despite the fear. I hope I do not regret it. You will not, Daijung promised. When this is over, you will have helped save 300 lives. That is worth any regret. Kix left the cell block quickly. His shift ended in an hour. He went through the motions of his duties, checking other areas, filing routine reports. No one noticed anything different about him. No one suspected that he had just set events in motion that would change everything. In her cell, Bora watched the night pass. She had seen Kix stop at cell 17. She had seen them talk, though she could not hear the words. She saw the look on Daijung's face after the guard left. She knew something was coming. She pressed her hand against the barrier and whispered a prayer to any god that might be listening. Please let us survive what is about to happen. In his cell, Hyunwoo lay on the cold floor of the interrogation room. His face was bruised. His body ached. They had asked him questions he could not answer, showed him images of places he had never seen. When he insisted he knew nothing, they hurt him. Not enough to kill, just enough to break his spirit. But Hyunwoo thought about his sister. He thought about going home. He thought about the quiet soldier in the cell across from his, the one named Daejung who always seemed so steady. He hoped Daejung had found a way to stay strong. Because Hyunwoo did not think he could stay strong much longer. And in the guard station, Commander Velthar reviewed reports from the interrogation. The human engineer knew nothing useful. Disappointing. Perhaps they would try the doctor next. Or maybe the quiet one in cell 17. Something about that one bothered him, though he could not say what. Tomorrow, he decided. Tomorrow they would pull that one down to the interrogation rooms and see what secrets he held. But tomorrow would not go as Commander Velthar planned. Tomorrow the Reaper would wake up, and this facility would learn why legends were more dangerous than armies. Dawn came with false peace. The purple lights in the cell blocks brightened slightly, signaling the start of a new day. Guards changed shifts. Prisoners stirred in their cells, facing another day of captivity. Kix arrived for his shift with his stomach twisted in knots. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw a dozen ways this could go wrong. But he had made his choice. Now he had to follow through. He took his position in the corridor. The senior guard, a massive Valthrine named Vor, briefed the new shift. Standard day. Keep watch. Commander wants the prisoner from cell 17 brought down to interrogation after morning feeding. Kix felt his blood freeze. No, not yet. They needed more time, but Daijung heard it too. Through the barrier, Kix saw the human's expression change. The waiting was over. It was now or never. Kix moved to his assigned post by the main control panel. His hand trembled as he entered the maintenance code he had memorized. On the screen, he could see the facility layout. All the systems, all the locks, one choice, one action. Everything would change. He pressed the emergency release for the cell blocks. Not all at once. That would trigger alarms immediately. But a cascade failure, starting with the lower priority cells. The system would read it as a malfunction. Red lights flashed on his panel. Cell barriers started dropping, first in Block C, then spreading to Block B. Confused shouts echoed through the facility. Vor ran to the control panel.
What is happening?
I do not know. System malfunction. Kix made his voice sound panicked, which was not hard because he was genuinely terrified. It is spreading. The barriers in Block A started failing. Prisoners looked up in confusion as their cell doors simply vanished. For a moment, no one moved. They had been caged so long they did not believe freedom even when it appeared. Then Daejung moved. He was out of his cell in a flash, running toward the guard station. Vor reached for his weapon, but Daejung was faster. The human grabbed a metal stool and swung it hard. The impact sent Vor crashing into the wall. Before the big guard could recover, Daejung had his weapon. The energy rifle looked huge in the human's hands, but he handled it like he had trained with it for years. Maybe he had. Kix realized he knew almost nothing about what the Reaper had done before he became a legend. Everyone out. Now. Daejung shouted to the prisoners. His voice carried authority that made people obey without thinking. Engineers to me! Anyone with military training to me. Prisoners poured out of their cells. Confusion turned to hope. Hope turned to action. Hyunwoo stumbled into view from the interrogation level. His face was a mess of bruises. He could barely walk. But when he saw Daejung, he smiled through broken lips. I knew you would do something. Bora was right behind him, supporting him. We need to get out of here. We will. Daejung grabbed Kix by the shoulder. The grip was not gentle. You, show me to the armory, now. Kix nodded and ran. Daejung followed, moving like a predator. Behind them, more prisoners were emerging. Some cried with relief. Some stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. But some ran to the guard station and grabbed whatever weapons they could find. The soldier in them waking up. The fight returning, alarms started blaring. Commander Velthar's voice boomed through the speakers. All guards to the cell blocks. Prisoners are escaping. Use lethal force. Kix led Daejung through corridors at a run. They passed 2 guards rushing toward the cell blocks. Daejung fired twice. Clean shots. Both guards went down. He did not slow down. They reached the armory. Kix pressed his hand to the scanner. The door hissed open. Inside were rows of weapons, armor, equipment. Everything the guards used. Daejung moved through it all with practiced efficiency. He grabbed a better rifle, extra energy packs, a knife that glowed with cutting energy. He strapped on light armor that barely fit his smaller human frame. He transformed from a prisoner into a soldier in seconds. Take what you need, he told Kix. You are part of this now. Kix grabbed a weapon with shaking hands. He was a traitor now. There was no going back. They ran back to the cell blocks. The scene had changed to chaos. Some prisoners were trying to reach the exit. Guards were arriving from other sections. Energy blasts lit up the corridors. Someone was screaming. Daejung assessed the situation in seconds. He saw the bottleneck, the problem, the solution. He fired at the ceiling above the main entrance. The blast brought down metal panels blocking the path. It bought them time. Listen to me, he shouted. The prisoners turned to him. We do this smart or we all die. Engineers, I need you to disable the communication array. It is on level 2, East Wing. Do not let them call for reinforcements. Can you do that? 3 men stepped forward, including Hyunwoo despite his injuries. We can do it. Go, take weapons. Shoot anyone who tries to stop you. Daejung turned to a group of scarred men who looked like former soldiers. You secure the exits. Hold them until everyone is out. Rotate positions. Do not let them flank you. The men nodded and moved. They understood tactics. They understood duty. Daejung looked at Bora. Doctor, get the injured to the shuttle bay. We will need to steal ships. Get them ready to move. I do not know how to fly alien ships, Bora said. I do. Daejung smiled grimly. I have stolen enough of them. The plan came together through chaos. Prisoners who had been broken and hopeless minutes ago now moved with purpose. Daejung had given them something they had lost. Not just freedom, direction, hope, but Commander Velthar was not a fool. He saw what was happening and adapted. He pulled guards from the perimeter and sent them in groups. He activated internal defenses. Automated turrets dropped from the ceiling in key corridors. Daejung moved through it all like a ghost. When turrets appeared, he disabled them with precise shots to their power cores. When guards came in groups, he used the environment against them, collapsing doorways, triggering fire suppression systems that filled corridors with foam, activating gravity switches that left Valthrine flailing while he moved sure-footed. Kix watched in awe and terror. This was what the Reaper could do. This was why the Dominion feared him. He was not just strong or fast. He understood everything about how they built their facilities, how they trained their soldiers, how they thought. He turned all of it against them. The engineers reached the communication array. Hyunwoo, despite his pain, knew exactly which cables to cut. The main array went dark. No distress signals would reach the Dominion fleet. Not yet, but the cost was growing. 2 prisoners fell to guard fire, then 3 more. Each death was a weight, but there was no time to mourn. They had to keep moving. Daejung led groups toward the shuttle bay. The Valthrine had 6 ships docked there, small transports. They could carry maybe 60 people each. More guards poured in, trying to stop them. Daejung fought like a man possessed. He took wounds. A burn on his arm. A cut on his side. He kept moving. Kept fighting. Nothing would stop him. Commander Velthar finally appeared, leading his personal guard squad. 8 elite warriors in full combat armor. He saw Daijung across the shuttle bay and his 4 eyes went wide with recognition. "You," Velthar said, his voice carrying disbelief. "The one from Cell 17. You are him, the Reaper." Daijung met his gaze. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. His stolen armor was scorched, but his hands were steady on his weapon. "Yes, we had you. We had you and did not know." Velthar laughed bitterly. "How foolish we were." "Yes, you were." Daijung's voice was cold. "You thought you had broken us. You thought we were no threat, but you forgot something important." "What?" "It only takes one human to make a difference." Daijung fired. The battle that followed was brutal. Velthar's guards were the best the Dominion had. But Daijung fought with everything he had learned in a dozen operations across 7 systems. He used the shuttle bay's machinery, triggered fuel lines to create barriers of fire, vented atmosphere in sections to scatter the guards. Kix fought beside him, surprising himself with his own courage. He was no warrior, but he protected prisoners who could not protect themselves. He covered their retreat to the ships. Bora got injured and elderly prisoners loaded first. Hyunwoo, despite barely being able to stand, helped others into the ships. The young man's spirit had returned. Velthar himself came at Daijung with a powered blade. The two fought hand to hand. The commander was stronger, had 4 arms, had more reach. But Daijung was faster, more focused, more desperate. He slid under a strike, came up inside the commander's guard, and drove his energy knife into the gap in the armor. Velthar fell. The mighty commander of the facility, brought down by the small human he had thought was nobody. "All ships loaded?" Daijung shouted. "Yes, but there are still 40 people waiting." Bora called back. Daijung looked at the remaining prisoners, looked at the doors where more guards were trying to break through. The math was simple and terrible. Not enough time. Load them on the ships anyway. Pack them in. We make it work. He turned to the soldiers holding the entrances. "Fall back. Everyone moves now." They ran. The last defenders sprinted for the ships while Daijung covered them. He fired continuously, not caring about accuracy anymore, just creating enough chaos to buy seconds. Kix grabbed his arm. "We have to go, now!" They ran for the last ship. Behind them, the doors finally gave way. Dozens of guards poured in. Energy blasts filled the air. Daijung threw himself into the ship. The refugee ships moved through space in tight formation. 4 vessels packed far beyond their capacity, filled with people who had given up hope and found it again. They traveled in silence, running dark, hoping to avoid Dominion patrols. On the lead ship, Daijung lay in the small medical bay while Bora worked on his leg. The energy blast had burned through muscle and damaged bone. She had no proper supplies, only the basic medical kit from the Valthrine ship, but she did her best. "This is going to hurt," she warned. "Everything hurts," Daijung replied, but he did not cry out when she cleaned the wound. Hyunwoo sat nearby, his own face still swollen from interrogation. He watched Bora work with interest. Will he be able to walk? Eventually, if we can get him to a real medical facility. Bora wrapped the wound carefully. He is lucky. A few inches higher and he would have lost the leg entirely. "I am always lucky," Daijung said, but his smile was tired. "Luck is about all I have left." Kix entered the medical bay. He looked different now. Without his armor, wearing clothes scavenged from the ship's supplies, he seemed smaller, more vulnerable. He carried food rations and water. "The others are settling in," he reported. "Some are sleeping. Some cannot stop talking. Everyone wants to know what happens next." "What happens next is we survive," Daijung said. "One day at a time." Kix set down the supplies. "Can I ask you something? When we were in the cell block, you said you would not leave anyone behind. But you must have known we could not save everyone. 1 ship was lost. 60 people died." Daijung was quiet for a long moment. "You are right. I knew the odds. I knew some would not make it." He looked at his bandaged leg. "But if I had only taken a few people, a dozen maybe, we could have escaped cleaner, easier. And 200 people would still be in those cells. Would still be facing interrogation and death. I chose to try to save everyone, knowing some would die trying. It is the choice I always make." "Is that why they call you the Reaper?" Kix asked. "Because death follows you?" "No." Daejung's voice went hard. "They call me that because I am what comes for their commanders in the night. I am the price they pay for this war. But I chose the name for a different reason. He touched his chest where the tattoo was hidden under his shirt. A reaper cuts down everything in the field. Does not choose. Does not spare. After my first mission, after I lost my entire squad saving people I never met, I took this name to remind myself of the cost. Every mission, people die. Sometimes enemies. Sometimes friends. Death is what I carry. But I carry it so others do not have to. The word settled heavily in the small room. Bora finished her work in silence. Hyunwoo looked down at his hands. Kik stood very still, processing what he had heard. I think, Bora said finally, that you are too hard on yourself. Yes, people die in war, but you saved 200 today. That is what matters, is it? Daejung closed his eyes. Tell that to the 60 on the ship that exploded. No one had an answer to that. The journey continued. Hours became days. They rationed food and water carefully. People took turns sleeping in the cramped spaces. Children cried. Adults comforted them with stories of what they would do when they reached safety. On the second day, they picked up a signal. Human military transmission. Encrypted but broadcasting location coordinates. Daejung recognized the encryption pattern. It was from the resistance base he had visited before his capture. He dragged himself to the pilot station, legs still burning with pain. Set course for those coordinates. Send approach codes. He rattled off a sequence of numbers he had memorized. The ships changed direction. Everyone felt the shift. Tension built. Were they really going to make it? Could safety actually be close? Hyunwoo sat with Daejung at the controls. The young engineer had recovered some strength, though he still moved carefully. Can I ask you something personal? You can ask, your sister. The one you mentioned in the cell. Is she real, or was that a story to keep your spirits up? Hyunwoo smiled sadly. She is real. Her name is Nari, younger than me by 3 years. Last I heard, she made it off New Jeju before the invasion. I hope she is at this base we are going to. I hope I get to see her again. You will, Daejung said with certainty. You survived interrogation. You survived the escape. You helped disable their communications. You are a fighter, even if you do not see yourself that way. I am nothing like you. Good. The galaxy does not need more people like me. Daejung adjusted their course slightly. It needs people like you. People who build instead of destroy. People who hope instead of just survive. Before Hyunwoo could respond, the console beeped. Ships appeared on sensors. Human ships. 3 corvettes moving to intercept. Everyone held their breath. If this went wrong, if they were not recognized, those ships could destroy them in seconds. The communication channel crackled. Unidentified Valthrine vessels, you are entering human-controlled space. State your purpose or be fired upon. Daejung keyed the microphone. This is Corporal Daejung, Special Operations, Service Number 773 Echo 9. I have 200 freed prisoners aboard 4 captured ships. Requesting immediate docking clearance and medical assistance. Silence. Then, Corporal Daejung is listed as killed in action 3 months ago. I got better. Verify my identity codes and get us clearance. People are hurt. We need help. More silence. Longer this time. Then a different voice came through. Older. Full of authority. Ghost 7, is that really you? Daejung felt something in his chest tighten. He knew that voice. Commander Park, his old handler. Yes, sir. It is really me. Where the hell have you been? Taking an extended vacation in a Valthrine prison. It was unpleasant. I would not recommend it. A sound that might have been a laugh came through the channel. Of course you would escape. Of course you would bring hundreds with you. Stand by for docking clearance. And Ghost 7, welcome home. The ships were guided into a massive hidden base built into an asteroid field. As they docked, humans in military uniforms rushed to meet them. Medical teams, security personnel, aid workers. The freed prisoners emerged slowly, blinking at the bright lights. Some collapsed from relief. Others cried. They had made it. Against all odds, they had made it. Hyunwoo stepped onto the dock and looked around desperately. Nari, are you here? A young woman pushed through the crowd. She saw Hyunwoo and screamed his name. They ran to each other, colliding in a hug that lifted her off the ground. Both were crying. Both were laughing. Both were whole again. Bora was met by medical staff who immediately wanted to treat her injuries. She refused until all the other prisoners were seen first. I am a doctor. Put me to work. These people need help more than I do. Kix stood on the dock feeling utterly lost. He was surrounded by humans, the species he had been taught to see as enemies. They looked at him with confusion and suspicion. A guard raised a weapon toward him. "Stand down," Dae-jung said, limping forward. "He is with me. He helped us escape. Without him, none of us would be here." The guard hesitated but lowered his weapon. Other humans stared at Kix. He felt their fear, their hatred. He understood it, but then Hyunwoo broke away from his sister and walked over. He extended his hand to Kix. "Thank you. For everything." Kix looked at the hand. A human gesture of respect. Slowly, he reached out and grasped it with one of his 4 hands. "You are welcome," others followed. Bora hugged him, which shocked him completely. Former prisoners nodded their thanks. Slowly, Kix realized he had found something he never expected. Acceptance. Commander Park approached Dae-jung. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked at his operative, taking in the injuries, the exhaustion, the weight of everything. "You look terrible," Park said. "Thank you, sir. I feel worse. Medical bay now." "That is an order." "In a minute. I need to make sure everyone else is taken care of first." Park sighed. "Still the same stubborn fool. Fine, but after that, we are going to have a very long conversation about how you managed to get captured in the first place. It is not a very interesting story, I doubt that." As Dae-jung was finally led away to the medical bay, word of what happened began to spread. The story moved through the base like wildfire. The Reaper had been captured. The Reaper had escaped. The Reaper had freed 200 prisoners. In the Dominion territory, the loss of the facility made waves. The truth came out slowly. They had captured their most wanted enemy and did not know it until he destroyed everything and vanished like smoke. The embarrassment was enormous. The fear was worse. Military commanders across Dominion space received new orders, updated protocols, changed security measures, all because of one human. If you suspect you have captured the operative known as the Reaper, do not engage directly. Evacuate the facility and call for heavy reinforcement. Do not underestimate him. Do not believe he is contained. He is never contained. One young Valthrine soldier read these orders and laughed nervously. One human has the entire Dominion this scared? His superior, a veteran who had fought humans before, did not laugh. He is not just one human. He is proof of what any of them can become. He is the reason we learned to fear them all. At the human base, Dae-jung recovered slowly. His leg healed. His other wounds faded, but he was changed. Quieter. More distant. The time in that cell had cost him something. Hyunwoo visited him often, bringing news from the outside.